years. This one, we basically would have, a year and a half of up years, and we're back down again.
But I do think, though, that you're right, we do have to cut back on, that's a very large salary pool
I think we have to look
supplement
at
that's sitting out there, and I don't wanna use stimulus funds in those areas.
I think we have to look at that.
I think it's clear we're not gonna use stimulus funds in those areas. I think that, again, we have to, we
I
have to.
don't know if it's really clear, the longer we leave the money in the budget, I think we're sending the wrong message.
That's why that's why I recommend looking at it also. I just, things with the stimulus, every time I read the stimulus money, one of my old favorite comedians was Professor Irwin Corey, and I don't know if you ever remember him, but everything he used to say was backwards, and I read these documents, and it's like, he's talking to me, and I don't understand any of it. I don't think we can depend on that money. I think we have to look at the salary pool money we have in there. I think we have to protect every position, every teaching position, unless we could cut a position because enrollment's gonna be lower at a certain grade.
Exactly.
Other than that, I don't think we can reduce any teachers. And I agree with Jerry, we should put a budget on the table, even if it exceeds available funds. And then we've got between now and June 8th to come up with the,
It's an
come up with the money.
unassigned reduction.
An
which
unassigned-
is
right.
When does it have to be submitted? We have to vote on it?
June 1st.
No,
They need the budget June 1st, right?
it's Friday.
May 1st.
The
No, no.
29th of May,
29th of May.
at the latest, but
We need
Carl
to-
needs a good week.
Yeah.
We need to vote on it next
Look,
meeting.
but I think we do it. I don't even think we wait till then. I think we said, this is what we need. These are our needs.
I agree.
It's been my position all along, so.
I know you agree. I'm assuming you pretty much agree, I mean, not cutting teachers. I don't think any of
Oh,
us wanna.
absolutely, absolutely.
teachers
I'm
out.
just sitting here trying to figure out how much a school bus costs and if we could use the ARRA funds for buying a couple of school buses and
Probably
what the
know that.
offset would be on our maintenance costs.
I don't think we
and
can,
paying
but
a driver.
There's specific language that said
Oh,
no
right.
vehicles.
No
Ah,
vehicles,
man.
right.
But I like the thinking.
Just put the-
Let's, yeah, do you wanna, David, do you wanna go through the
one at a time.
tiers that you've, put together for the level 2 reductions? I was just gonna say, you don't seem very enthusiastic about that.
No, yeah.
I mean, let's make it clear.
Well, let me just give it
That's
kind of
not-
a general, they are.
But before you do that, David, I wanna make clear again, we've already cut $460,000 out of our budget.
Right.
We've cut the school year by 2 days. We've eliminated positions that were unstaffed, correct? For the most part, unstaffed positions that we probably would have filled, be it, in the, custodial staff, some paras, you've eliminated some positions or a program that we're gonna take in-house to save money, we will no longer be paying money to SEAM. So we've cut close to $500,000 from our budget request already, before even looking at level 2.
And we started with a program that's so austere that
Right.
it squeaks.
Correct.
You know what's difficult, and I would be happy to kind of in a general way go over the thinking behind the tier 1, 2, and 3. But if you go back to the recap document, under level 2, and this is the one that, show me the right one here.
1 through 14.
Yeah, the one that's 3. So, if you look at the recap document, that is dated today's date, school committee 4/27/09, and under level 2, where the total amount, that's really the gap, is around 914,000.
Right.
Now,
That's our gap, pretty
Right.
much right now, correct?
Right.
That's after making the level 1
right,
cuts.
so in my mind, you want to try to find ways to reduce that, and then it's somewhat of a educated gamble or educated risk of how much of the 2 pots of stimulus money can be used to offset certain parts of the budget. And I'll give you an example. I think the IDEA money is a little clearer. I asked Christine Danjo, actually back in March, when we first got the first handle on how much money, the IDEA money, about 640,000, 2 years. And this, we get IDEA money every year. So this is 640,000 above and beyond over 2 years. So if you think of that as 320,000 a year. And then you begin to say, all right, of that money, how much of it can I use to supplement? That would be a new program. So I'll give you an example. We are proposing in this budget, we budgeted for taking over that middle school program. That's teacher, at least one paraprofessional, maybe two. And even when we do that, we recognize that we're gonna get a savings, so to speak, because we're not paying the tuition for those students. So that's why I reflect that
$10,000.
under level one.
Right.
But we might want to take the risk, at least for next year, to use some of the IDEA money. I think we can justify it to pay for the teacher and to pay for the paraprofessional. Now, the trade-off when you do that is that you automatically have to account for a certain percentage that will be taken right off the top whenever you're, it's sort of a federal requirement. I think it's 9%. So, for example, let's say we budgeted a teacher for this program at 60 or high 60s, because the teacher in that program is going to be a highly experienced teacher. And then a paraprofessional, you're probably talking about the potential for $80,000 or so, which is in our budget as one of our staff members. So if we did that, we could then reduce 80% or 80,000.
You free up about 72,000 if you take the 9% away that you have to.
You could think of it
So
that
we
way,
could put
too.
$72,000 back into our budget for something else.
I'd put the 80,000 in
80,000,
there
okay.
and keep a running account
Right.
of all of the.
And then take the 9%
Take the
at the end,
9% and add that on top.
Yeah.
Because remember, it's 640 over 2 years. We have to decide in the next day or two whether we're going to take any of that money and spend it this year. The application, we were just informed today, I just got an email today from the commissioner, the application is out, it's due on May 8th, you need to let us know. And so is there any special ed expense this year, 09 budget, that is not accounted for through circuit breaker or, any other means? So we have to go back and look, are there any other legal issues, new tuitions that we didn't anticipate, that would cause us to take money out of the IDA money and spend it in 09? Which, in a way, if we're obligated to pay those funds out of 09, we could save it in the circuit breaker for future years. But that's a decision. I'm going to meet with Christine Danjo tomorrow, Carl and I, to make that decision. But that's just one example. Another example Christine has given is we would be calling this new positions. In the level 2 reductions, which the committee has not voted on, one of them is to reduce administrative costs. I think it's $15,000.
Yeah.
right.
All right, half of that position, half of that 15,000 comes from the extension of a teacher's, we have, it's in the teaching category, but it's the assistant to the pupil personnel director, handles summers, out-of-district placements, all of that. That's Mr. Camino's position. So if on the level 2 reductions, which we budget for anyway, and that position that receives a 10% differential for summer work. Since if you voted to take that out as a level 2 reduction, then I would say I would use the IDEA money to put it back in.
Half of
And,
it?
Well, the 75.
75.
Right. The other one is the assistant principal's position here at the middle school. That would reduce it to a school year position. I would do the same thing, not under IDEA.
The other money.
I would take it out of the other one. So right now, I'm just focusing on
The
IDEA.
yeah.
Um,
So is it clear?
You know, another consideration that she's put down here, on we've never used this, but on IDEA funding, you are permitted to use up to 10% of it and count it against administrative salaries. It's something I wouldn't, if we had to do it, I would do it, but we could,
Would that be just Chris, or?
well, it would be anyone who's involved in, you would say a certain percentage of a principal's salary.
Okay, or a
Chris's
superintendent,
salary,
or right.
Anyone,
Anybody.
because it's all, you're involved in special education. And so you could take 10% of half of, it's 640 over 2 years, we used about 275 for each of the 2 years. We didn't divide it, 50% of 640 is 320, so I used 275 to give us a little bit of a break there, a little bit of a cushion. So, I mean, those are the kinds of thinking, that's the kind of thinking,
275?
275,000. It's 640 over 2 years. So for 1 year, it would be 320,000.
He's just being safe.
So I was just being a little more conservative, instead of targeting 320, targeting 275. And,
So,
But you might be able to pick it up in the third year.
no, I don't think,
I don't think so.
I think it's gone. I think
Because
the
of
way
the
they're-
fiscal years?
I think, well,
The
well,
difference in the
maybe
fiscal
you're right.
years?
You're right.
Yeah, because
You
we-
pick up some in the third year.
Because of the way the
because
federal
of
fiscal year
years.
runs.
it is a 3-year cycle.
So in total, how
$27.
much IDEA money do you think you can use
Oh.
to offset this deficit of 914? I thought you were saying 275, and I was gonna
Oh,
say,
That was
so
a
we
working-
can
that
vote
was
this
a working
budget right
number.
now.
That's the
Right?
total
That's
number,
the-
not-
That's the
Yeah.
total working
Yeah.
number.
Well, so far, I've got 80,000 and 7,500.
Well, we have to sit, first of all, we haven't got the guidelines yet, so.
Right. And you almost need 2 columns out here for
Yeah.
every line,
Right.
every line item of expenditure. And you can put it in this column that it fits in one category, in this column it fits in another. Nightmare.
Could you squeeze 100,000?
But again,
Yeah, I
I
think
think we're approaching
we
it the
need to
wrong
come
way.
up with the budget
The
and
bottom
let
line is
them-
we're
right.
gonna use the money that we have available to us in the way that it can be used. We still need to come up with a budget figure. And again, I think what
I
we
was
need to
gonna-
do is, are there any tier 1 or any tier 2 cuts that we're willing to make? What I say is take the level services budget, 24,118, 429, subtract the level 1 cuts of 459, 378, subtract whatever levels cuts we wanna make in tier 1 and tier 2. That's the budget we propose.
Like I said,
And we go from there.
I wanted to ask David, I mean, we've had these tier 1 and, you've had these tier 1 and tier 2 for almost a couple of months now, but you
Not
keep, but you keep saying you don't want to discuss them, and I guess the only way to figure if we're going to cut any of these things is if we do discuss them. And I guess I'm wondering what the reluctance is, you don't want to single out positions, or, okay. Okay.
Because if you take out the level 1 cuts, essentially you've got a budget of 23,659,051 or thereabouts, which exceeds the.
How do you, oh, 20.
I'm taking the level services budget and subtracting out the level 1 cuts.
Oh, so right now, our level service is 24,118.
Right. Take out the level cuts, it's a
14.
$914,000 gap,
Right.
and then.
Yeah, start with the 914 gap.
Right. And-
648.
So basically, our budget's 23,659,051 as we speak.
Oh, so what do you- no, our budget right now is 24,18429.
No, we've already voted on the level 1.
Yeah, but the level 1's already taken out of that that $914,000 deficit is after the level one cuts, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's the